Hello, you are welcome, and it's my pleasure to have you view this video in the series of our lessons in educational technology. I am Israel Olasunkanmi of the Department of Science and Technology Education, University of Ibadan. I belong to Educational Technology Unit with my colleagues, Professor Ayotola Aremu, Adetumbi Akinyemi, and I have with me, putting this video together, Shino Oyedele and Tayo Akimoju. I'm sure you're going to enjoy every bit of this lesson. The lesson of today is titled New Trends in Educational Technology. Let's start this way. I'm going to be asking you a question for some sort of reflection. Now, do you think we'll need humans? With the rate at which technology is growing, would we need humans in our future classrooms? You may want to say yes or no. Whichever is your response, I will need you to give reasons. So in the next 5 minutes, you put your pen to paper and write reasons why you think humans will be needed or not in the future classroom with the rate at which technology is growing. Well done. Let's look at some of these new trends because you should be able to identify various types of emerging technologies which we could adopt or adapt for teaching and learning purposes at all levels of education and training. Now, if you look at the screen, you will see presentation tools. We have some of them grouped into authoring tools. Some are called evaluation tools, and there are many of them. For example, we have the mobile learning tools. We have the learning management system tools. This may interest you. We have Learning 2.0. If we have Learning 2.0, where is Learning 1.0? So we have the social media, quite a number of them. We have the open education resources, OERs. We have the instant messaging services. We have the cloud computing technology. We have the smart learning environments. How about gamification in education? We have live learning and we have artificial intelligence. How about learning analytics? These and many others are available. Now let's start with this. What is Learning 2.0? Learning 2.0 allows users to interact and collaborate with each other in a platform as creators of user-generated content in a virtual community. Let me make a little explanation about that. We used to have Learning 1.0 because years back, we were fully relying on www websites or webs where you can only access the information uploaded online. You don't have that provision of facility to make any adjustments, to make any addition, to remove anything from it. It was just read only. But you know, technology is never static. It is dynamic. We have technology always thinking about how to make things better, make life easier, make things smoother. That was what led to Web 2.0, so that it goes back and forth. You can have to and fro. That means the users at this time can actually make some input. They can have their own ideas to whatever information is placed on the web. That is the idea. So that is called Web 2.0. And because now we are taking that into the learning situation, we call it Learning 2.0. Let me give you examples. And if you like, you may take notes. Wikis is one of them. The Wikipedia is a company that before now gave something that we can call an improved encyclopedia. They put different types of words, concepts online. That time, You could only access, you could only read. But now, Wikipedia now gives room for users to add their own ideas, to respond to whatever content is placed there. So that is why Wikipedia is one of them, or wikis. Another one is blogs. A content designer or a creator can always put something online, then there'll be a room for you to make your comments, which wasn't there many years back. So that's also an example of Learning 2.0 technology. How about e-portfolio? That's another one. And let me tell you, there is Dropbox. We also have the webinar. We as well have what we call the YouTube and or TeacherTube. So with these, users are allowed to make their contribution, to ask questions, to also respond to questions. Wikis. Let's go specific now. Wiki is a web application which allows collaborative modifications. It allows extension. It allows you to delete out of its content and structure. This is possible in Wikispaces, WikiHow, and Wikipedia. Yes, what is a wiki? Wiki is a web application which allows collaborative modification, extension, or deletion of its content and structure. You have examples of Wikispaces, WikiHow, Wikipedia. The next one we're going to be talking about is a blog. A blog is a discussion or informal site published on the World Wide Web and consisting of discrete entries. That's what we call posts, typically displayed in reverse chronological order. That is, the most recent post appears first. The next one is e-portfolio. E-portfolio is a digital portfolio or online portfolio, a collection of electronic evidence assembled and managed by a user, usually on the web. So you can have something like Folio for Me, for a start. So Folio Spaces, these are platforms or tools that you can use to develop your e-portfolio. And at a point in time during this course, we're going to develop our own e-portfolios. So get ready for that. Then the next one we're talking about is the Dropbox. The Dropbox is a file hosting service that offers cloud storage, file synchronization, personal cloud, and client software. Looking at this slide, you will see a icon representing that. That's the icon for Dropbox. Let's look at webinar. What is a webinar? Webinar is an online collaborative service. Let's put it a simple way. You are familiar with seminar. Webinar means seminar on the web. Let's just put it as simple as that. And then we also have the YouTube or TeacherTube. These are used to deliver video content over the web. If you have any particular topic you are interested in, you could just query that topic and go to the YouTube, and then you're going to have a lot that you could adapt or adopt or use for teaching and learning. Then we have that our LMS. What's the full meaning of LMS? Learning Management System. It is a software application for the administration, for documentation, for tracking, for reporting, and for delivery of electronic education courses or training programs. You have examples like Moodle. We mentioned that in class for those who were there. Moodle, Moodle. We have the Blackboard. We have the LCDS. We also have Edmodo. That looks like a Facebook that at the same time could serve as a learning management system. Then we have the Google Classroom. All these are various platforms or software applications that could be used for administration of our education courses. Then let's look at social media itself. That's another technology. These are tools, that's the social media now. They are tools that allow people to create. Not only that, you can share, you can also exchange information. You got an information from somewhere, maybe another platform, you can share with other people. You can share ideas, you can share pictures, you can share videos in virtual communities and networks. In social media, you have you could have a large group. You take, for example, the WhatsApp is going to give you opportunity to interact with friends up to a particular number. Maybe you know that there are other platforms that could give you room for many more. Let's give examples of this social media. Google Plus is one. The Facebook is another. Think about Twitter, Foursquare, Schoology, Tweeducate, Sophia, Edmodo. We mentioned it the other time that Edmodo could do the work of a learning management system, but at the same time, it is a social media. Now, there are other tools, not only for teaching and learning, but to assess teaching, to assess how much the students have learned. These are categorized as evaluation tools. They are also new trends. Let's see how we can describe these evaluation tools. Evaluation tools are used to systematically determine a student's limits, a student's worth and significance, using criteria governed by a set of standards. Let me give you an example. We have the Google Forms. Have you used that before? If yes, think about the features of the Google Form. We're going to be developing that. You and other colleagues are going to be developing Google Forms to collect information. Another example is the hot potatoes. We also have QuizWorks, we have quiz makers, and many more. They come into the market from day to day. Therefore, we need to be conversant with these tools. Then, we have presentation tools. Presentation tools include functions that allow the user to insert text, audio, pictures, and videos, as well as functions which allow the user to manipulate the presentation as a whole in order to maximize viewers' interest and make the presentation more appealing. Examples include Prezi, Powtoons, mind mapping tools, and a very common one that may readily come to mind. That's the PowerPoint. But now we'll talk about enhanced PowerPoint. These are presentation tools. Prezi, let me give example. Let's look at that example. Prezi is a cloud-based presentation software and a storytelling tool for presenting ideas on a virtual canvas. So Prezi is very good because you could zoom on the ideas you want to discuss. You'll find it interesting to work with Prezi. The Powtoon is a cloud-based software. It's for creating animated presentations and animated explainer videos. From the name, Powtoon, if you cover the POW, you retain the tune. What comes to your mind, you just add something to it, becomes cartoon. That's what it means. Powtoon, a cloud-based software for creating animated presentations. Another example that I mentioned earlier on is the mind mapping tool. A mind map is a diagram used to visually organize information. You start from a major idea and then you begin to branch to different areas, different subtopics under that key or major idea. Examples of tools you could use include a mind manager. It's both for video, for the Windows, and you could find some other versions for more specific PCs. Authoring tools. Let's come to authoring tools. What are authoring tools? An authoring tool is a software package that that developers use to create and package content that is deliverable to end users. They are commonly used to create e-learning modules. Authoring, creating by developers. You can be one. You can even be a freelancer developing such packages, but you need some more experience. If you don't play with this educational technology course, I'm sure you're going to be making money. Let me give you examples of the authoring tools. Articulate Studio is one of them. Another one is Adobe Captivate. If you like, call it Adobe, like many people will say. Raptivity is another one. High Spring and Camtasia. We have many more. Camtasia would help you to develop very good videos. You can use that to author packages. Now let's come to mobile learning. What is mobile learning? Mobile learning is learning on the go. You move from one place to another. That's the idea of mobile. That's something you can take from one place to another. It's mobile. So it means you could do your learning from one place to another. As you move on from one climb to another, from one place to another, you continue to learn. These are good too. These are good things for the 21st century using digital technologies. So we have examples of tools or devices you could use for mobile learning. Number one, the tablets. Two, mobile phones, iPods, MP3, podcasts, vodcasts. You'll see the images that were posted also to illustrate or to get you familiar with these concepts. We also have the instant messaging services. Instant messaging services. Instant messaging is a type of online chat which offers real-time text transmission over the internet. We have examples like the Viber, the Yahoo Messenger, the Windows Live Messenger, the BlackBerry Messenger, Google Hangouts, WhatsApp, Skype, Meebo, and the like. They allow you to do messaging instantly. You send message, textual messages, and people reply. So that also could be used in the process of teaching and learning. Now, let's come to Open Educational Resources, OERs. OERs. They are freely accessible, openly licensed documents and media that are useful for teaching, they are useful for learning, they are useful for assessing as well as for research purposes. So examples of OER are there. Now, let's move on to cloud computing. Let's describe cloud computing. That's a method of delivering technology to the consumer. While in the past, software had to be shipped on a CD-ROM and updates had to be downloaded afterwards to keep the software secure and bug-free, cloud computing allows vendors to deliver software and services over the internet without the need for traditional media or installation. You'll find that very useful as well. At this point, we have been able to consider quite a number of new trends in educational technology. That is, different tools, different technologies you could employ to deliver lectures, to facilitate learning in this digital era. Don't forget, we've talked about the presentation tools, we've talked about the authoring tools, we've talked about the evaluation tools, we've mentioned the issue of mobile learning, the learning management system. We've considered Learning 2.0. We've looked at the social media, open educational resources, OERs, the instant messaging services, the cloud computing issue. There are lots more. You may also want to think about the smart learning environments, the use of games or bringing game elements to assist learners to have good grasp of what we are teaching them. That's about gamification in education. Later on, we shall be talking about the field learning, artificial intelligence, and learning analytics. I want to thank you for paying good attention to this lesson. Thank you very much.